What's in the box? It's a horrible impression. Take it away, Brad Pitt.
What's in the box?
I couldn't resist. So this right here is something that I have been waiting for literally 6 months. Once I rode the Surron, I realized how awesome having a small electric motorcycle could be. Something you could take off-road, something you could ride on-road. And while the Surron was really, really cool, the biggest issue is it is not street legal. Well, inside this box right here, we have a solar E-Clipse 2.0, and this thing is a fully street legal electric dirt bike that you can actually put supermoto wheels on. So I am very excited to get this thing unboxed and see what it's all about. Hold up guys, before we get this thing assembled, I do need to take a second and shout out the fact that Solar actually gave me this motorcycle. I'll mention this again later, but I wanted to put it here at the beginning of the video just because it's important for transparency. I do not have to give this motorcycle back. It is now mine. You can consider this and any other videos made with this motorcycle to be sponsored content, but all of the thoughts and opinions are mine and they do not get to see the videos before they go live. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Okie dokie pokies, let's unbox this thing. Whoops. Alright, now we need to mount up the handlebar, the TFT, and the headlight assembly. Alright, how do we mount the handlebar? Oh, did I done goof this? Did I done goof this? Yeah, I done goofed it. I like how in the owner's manual it's like, assess your ability to put together one of these motorcycles. And I was like, I've built a Ural, which I actually have, by the way. Yeah, I uncrated a Ural. I can handle this. Apparently, I can't. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you end up getting one of these, take your time with the handlebars. I spent way longer on this than I should have because I was just flying by the seat of my pants and I wasn't thinking. So I ended up having to take them on and off and on and off and on and off over and over and over again. You need to put the other cluster on and you need to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So go slow. Nice.
Alrighty folks, we have the thing assembled, and I should have mentioned this earlier, and I will have put an actual disclaimer earlier on in the video, but Solar has not sent this motorcycle to me. It is not a loaner. They have given me this bike. That's the first time that's ever happened on this channel. Nobody just gives out motorcycles, but these guys have given me this bike. Also, you do not see this. Don't believe what your eyes are telling you. This is not a 1998 VMAX skeleton that is on my lift right here. You don't see this thing. I promise that's not what it looks like. Now, gaslighting aside, I would like to talk a little bit about the specs on this thing. And let's start with how it was to assemble. This was pretty simple, all things considered. If you can work on a motorcycle, you can definitely get this done. However, I would recommend to the folks at Solar, change the way that your handlebars mount to the triple clamps, because A, it makes it hard to adjust because it bumps into the TFT dashboard, and B, it was really hard for me to run some of the wires. So I'd like to see it mount up a little bit more like a naked bike, where it comes straight up off the triple clamps instead of forward. It also makes it more adjustable because you can put different risers on there. But beyond that, it was a trivial matter to get this assembled. It probably took me about an hour, more because I was filming than anything else. And this bike is really unique because it is entirely platable. It has a 17-digit VIN code on it, which means that it actually punches more in a motorcycle category than something like the Surron. I see this more as an answer to Kawasaki's ZE1, which is their naked electric bike. I know a lot of people are looking at this thing thinking it's a Surron competitor. It is not. I know that the folks at Solar might think differently, but considering the price on this thing being almost $6,000, I definitely see this as a motorcycle and not like a little electric mountain bike thingamajig. So let's talk about the specs on this bad boy. This thing has a top speed claimed of 60+ miles an hour, and you will have to de-restrict it, which you can actually get in with the app and change a lot of the parameters. We'll talk about that when I get on the road because it's not particularly great, but we'll get back to that. This puts down 10 kilowatts, which is about 13.4 horsepower, which again is a lot more than something like your average Surron. That's the peak power, mind you. You're not always gonna get 13 horsepower out of this thing. And again, it puts it more in the category of my POC 250, which again is a fully plated dirt bike. We have a fully removable 72 amp battery in here, which gives you about 50 to 60 miles claimed range. We are gonna do some range testing later on, but I will say that the regenerative brake on the handlebar does a really great job of putting power back into the battery. I have been playing around with it, doing a couple of miles. That regenerative braking works super, super well. The frame on this is made out of carbon fiber, which, if I'm gonna be totally honest, kind of feels a little bit more like a marketing gimmick than anything, but it is actually really well made, and all of the contact points where you're connecting big bolts, you're putting torque on it, is reinforced with metal, so you don't have to worry about pinching a carbon fiber swing arm or driving screws into carbon fiber and stripping the holes out, because everything where you're actually putting torque down has metal supporting it. We also have fully adjustable suspension on here. It's not like show a big piston or whatever. It's more closely akin to a big mountain bike, but it's fully adjustable. And I've actually spent some time putting the preload in here, and it definitely made a difference in how I sit on this bike. This thing right here weighs 138 pounds. The Kawasaki wishes it was that light. That's insanely light for this motorcycle, and it's another reason why it can get up to some super high speeds, relatively speaking. We've got a TFT dash on here, we've got stainless steel braided lines, we've got all sorts of nice programmable technology. This thing offers a ton, and again, it's fully street legal. So let's get this thing out on the road and see how it feels.
Alrighty, this is where the rubber meets the road, guys. Pulling away on the Solar, we're gonna see how fast this thing goes. This is a 50-mile-an-hour zone, so we're currently getting to about 48, 49, 50, so we're right where we need to be for this country 2-lane here. And I will say, I have lightly de-restricted this motorcycle. I was talking with the folks over at Solar about the exact specific things you need to do to de-restrict this thing, and I've done most of it. And I gotta say, cruising down the road 50 mile an hour, it doesn't feel as sketchy as you would think. It feels like a super crazy lightweight dirt bike. It feels like I'm riding a trail bike down the road. However, this isn't really the kind of riding that this thing is meant for. Let's be real. This kind of bike is more designed for, you know, poodling around in the inner city. The company that made this is actually based out of the UK, and they have direct to consumer sales here in the United States with support online and a nice warranty and all that stuff. So you actually do have some support, and this is, again, a UK company, and you can sort of feel that it was designed with a big city in mind. I think that when you get the 17s on, or well, the 16s that it comes with, it'll feel a lot more stable. It'll feel a little bit more predictable. On the 19s, kind of going around these corners, it's a little bit wonky, but I think that's to be expected from a bike that's this light. It's also worth pointing out that I don't have the suspension set quite exactly the way that I would have it. But, you know, cruising through this little neighborhood right here, this thing's perfect. And you'll see me, if you watch my thumb, you'll see me going for the thumb brake, which is actually the regen. And the regen is super kick-ass on this thing because it's how you extend the range. One thing I will say, though, as I kind of come to that stop, the brake feel, the front brake specifically, does not feel good. Like here, I'm going to just jam the f*** out of it right here. That's almost to the bars. Now, it's worth pointing out, I'm a heavy dude, and this doesn't have a full-size motorcycle brake on it. So I kind of expect a little bit of, let's say, a little bit of delayed onset when it comes to that brake, but it is something that I'm going to keep an eye on as I continue to ride it. The rear brake is a lot touchier, which I wasn't expecting. It, you know, really kind of just tows the motorcycle down as I hop into this parking lot. You actually can lock it up pretty easily too. But one of the things that I'm most excited about for this motorcycle, more so than anything, is taking it off-road, and there's a couple of little spots around here. So let's go break some rules, shall we? In Texas, everything's covered in thorns. Alrighty, here we go. This is basically just a giant empty field that's somewhere in my neighborhood. And it's pretty alright for goofing around in. It's not really off-road, but it will work. And I guess the biggest question is, how does this thing feel? Honestly, it's better here than it is on the street. It's definitely a little bit more clearly meant for playing around in a field, you know? If this, well, it's funny, I usually say, if this were mine, well, this is mine, So one of the things I'm definitely going to end up doing to this guy is I'm going to put some risers on it so I can more comfortably stand up while I'm poodling through all this mud and so forth. We've had a lot of rain, and the ground here is just clay. So you end up with fields just holding giant tanks of water, and you don't notice until you're on top of it. There's so many thorns out back here that you don't want to just bushwhack through stuff if you can avoid it. You want to kind of know what you're going through. Clearly, I'm not the only one who rides little dirt bikes out here. But I am the only one who's done it in a minute, because this is all overgrown. Mistakes were made. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. This is exactly what I wanted out of this bike, and I cannot wait to actually get it in my little off-road spot that I go to down in Bastrop. I'm 100% going to be comparing this to my Hawk, because it feels like it's right in that kind of ballpark size-wise. And the Hawk is, funnily enough, the bottom dollar option. Yeah, that's all water and sludge. Let's sort of mosey our way through all of this. No problem. Now, originally, I had noticed that there's kind of a dead zone in the throttle. It takes a second for you to really kind of get moving. You pull the throttle a little bit farther than you would normally expect before the power comes on. But I appreciate that off-road, because the amount of torque that this has for such a light bike, it comes on pretty quick. All right, this way, that way, and then this way, around the metal sheets, up the little hill. Oh, this is fun, guys. This is so much fun. Let's see what this thing looks like. That's exactly what it's meant to look like. Splattered with dirt and mud. No longer pristine. I really dig this thing, guys. And it's not just because they sent it to me. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Spite, you, of course you're going to like it. It's yours now. And you're right. There's definitely a conflict of interest in that sense. But if this was flawed significantly, I'd let you know. Because the guys at Solar are actually looking for feedback, right? They want feedback. And I've already sent that, this cover right here for the battery, it doesn't seat quite right. And the handlebars, I don't like the way that the handlebars, whoops, I forgot it's not in park. The handlebars don't quite seat up exactly the way that I would like them to. So, I need to change this. And I wish that they would just change it from the factory. There's a whole bunch of little things on here that need to change, but the package itself is a ton of fun. And I think once I get the Supermoto wheels for it, and I do a couple of mods here and there to make it a little bit more motorcycle-y versus electric bikey, it's going to be a ton of fun. So guys, if you would like to see more content about the Solar E-Clipse, click that subscribe button. Let me know what you're looking for with this bike. I'm definitely going to compare it to the Hawk 250. And I might even go find myself a Surron again and throw this thing up against it. I won't be able to get my hands on a ZE1 because they're not for sale yet, I don't think. So maybe it might be a minute before we see that. Oh, I'm also going to throw this thing on the dyno at AF1 and show you the different power curves when this thing is restricted versus de-restricted and all that stuff, because I'm actually really curious. So there's going to be a bunch of goofing around with this bike, so stay tuned. And if you want any information about the E-Clipse 2.0 here, click that link down in the description below where you can check out everything. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.